Hello, everybody. Welcome today to Toys for the Blind support group. Toys stands for Technology Offered for Your Situation. Today we're having a special meeting. We've got Lindsay McKinney and Christie from the Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities, the Business Enterprise Program. They're going to talk a little bit about business enterprise. So, ladies, you can have the floor.
All right, thanks. So I'm Lindsay McKinney. I'm the training manager for the BE program. So when I think of BE, I think of vending. So what we do is we have priority in state and federal buildings to come in and provide food service. Most of the time it is vending, but it can be cafes, cafeterias, coffee shops, C-stores, micro markets, which micro markets are becoming more popular. And so what we do is if anyone wants any kind of service like that, in a state or federal property, they have to come to us first. And so we provide the equipment, and then it is up to the business owner, being the blind vendor, to take care of that vending machine, whatever it may be. So it's all of their inventory. It's them doing the reports, them paying taxes. They get to decide what's in their machines, and then whatever they make is theirs. We are the ones that provide the equipment, but not inventory. Um, so um, we do have other places. We are in a lot of colleges, rest areas. We do have some private places, but that's not super common. Um, so you have to be 18 to be in the program. Um, and you have to go through this training process. So it's a lot of paperwork. And then you actually get into the training process, which we do Lighthouse, which is online. It's 12 modules, which typically takes about 12 weeks. You can do it a little faster if you want to. And then you do in-stand trainings, which are basically you're just going in and you are being trained by one of the blind operators. And so they will show you everything that they do and how they do it. We have you go with two different people so that you can kind of see that everyone is different in the way that they run their business, just like every other business. So you kind of get two different perspectives of how to do it. And then you have your license and you have free reign to do your business as you like. So we have the contract with the grantor. And we kind of have a relationship with them and a relationship with the vendor. And we all work together to make it hopefully seamless. There is a monthly operating report that you have to do to us, send to us, and stuff like that, but it's not, it's not like we're having you send us your taxes and things like that. I don't know what else to say. Okay.
I can step in. Christie, I'm the program manager, been the program manager since 2015. Some background, this program is based off of the Randolph-Shepard Act, which was created by Congress in 1936. Been around a while. And the businesses have definitely evolved. 49 states have the same program. Like what Lindsay was saying, this is to set blind and individually blind and visually impaired people up to run their own business. They're entrepreneurs. We do provide the equipment. We provide the initial inventory. We provide training. We provide some ongoing support. But as Lindsay said, our vendors are responsible paying taxes and getting their own employees. Part of how this program is funded, they do a monthly operating report, and based off of their net proceeds, so their sales, then you subtract their wages, and all of their expenses, depending on how much they make, it's a sliding scale. They give back a set aside. And for every dollar of set aside that we receive back from each of our operators, we can draw down $3.69 in grant funding from the feds to reinvest. So we can then go out and get more people, more jobs. And we can, do the upkeep on the equipment as well. Right now, around 73, 74 operators statewide. Mark and Mark are part of that program. I think last year with around, again, it fluctuates. I think last year on our federal report, there was around 70 operators, had 16 million in sales for the state. The jobs, they do vary. We have small routes, we have larger routes. We have the troop dining at Wright Pat Air Force Base, which is a big job. The operators can, depending on their facility, their choices can make as much as maximize their profits. Some people get into the program and they're not necessarily money driven. Others they are. We have people that make six figures. Yeah, and we have people that also work, 6, 7 days a week, and we have others that have been in the program and they're like, I did my time. I ran my cafeteria back in my 20s, and the selection of who gets what facility, where we have a rule book that we've worked with the operators with. It is a bit seniority based, but there are some other criterias. One of the things that we tell people who are interested in the program, they'll come in and they'll be like, oh, I want a Kennelly, and I'll explain what a Kennelly is. And so I only have to work 2 days a week. And, and then I'm like, you need to talk to one of the marks, and they'll explain that even if you're only going to your rest area twice a week, the hours that you're putting in at home on the ordering and all of the paperwork and the setting up the vendors and the accounts for Coke and Pepsi and Vistar, it's a lot more than just showing up 2 days a week. The other thing I always have to tell people that when they're interested in this is that, some of those more lucrative jobs, you're going to have to start off at a smaller route. And
Work your way up.
Yep, work your way up. We're always encouraging people to apply to, you get linked up with a VR counselor with OOD. You go, that's the front door. They work through eligibility, what any type of training that might be needed, whether that's technology, orientation and mobility. There is some stuff, regulations you've got to, there's a drug test, there's a couple different things, there's a math test, and then you get into the training. And then the third part of the training is the linking up with an existing veteran operator. And we call those in-stands. The Kennelly, I said I'd go back. Kennelly, and I was in this program for a while. I'm like, what is a Kennelly? Everyone keeps on talking about a Kennelly. So rest areas, the Congress had back in the 70s determined that Randolph-Sheppard should apply to rest areas on interstate freeways. And who championed that was a senator named Barbara Kennelly. So they named it the Kennelly. So we do have rest areas throughout the state on, 70, 71, 75. Then we have what we call secondary highways, which are the smaller routes. And right now, we third party that out to Coca-Cola, and then they give us a commission that we can then draw down those funds and again, maximize. We are in talks of taking those over and putting operators there. I'll be having a conversation with Mr. Wood here before I leave today about that. But I think that's a great opportunity. right now, we're very fortunate. We have a governor that has put a lot of money and emphasis on rest areas, and they've redone them, which has moved our operators, vending machines. It used to be like a little module building. It wasn't in the same building as the bathrooms, and now they've been put into these buildings where it's easy access. I think sales have been on the rise for our operators, which is really exciting. One of the things that my job is to work with, it's called the Ohio Vendors Representative Committee. And that's the committee that's comprised, they represent the other operators, and it's done by regions. Mark is on the committee. And that is, it's sometimes challenging, but it's good. We try to, our goal is to expand to get more facilities for more blind and visually impaired entrepreneurs. We've got a couple people on the bench right now. And I think it's a wonderful, great program. Always looking for people. I can, one of the thing with this program is when we go and we talk to counselors and we're trying to recruit new people, they're like, well, what job's open right now? And it's just not that easy because it's this cascade effect. It also depends on where you are. I also tell people, which is not always popular, that if you really are motivated to work, you might want to consider moving. But we also have people that travel. I have people in Columbus that go to Lima, some that have gone to Dayton for work. Right now, Wright Pat Air Force Base, we've got a couple, we're going to have an opening. We're at the Defense Supply, DSCC. As Lindsay was saying, colleges and universities, we've expanded there, and we're so fortunate because most states do not have that priority in their state law where we do. But, I also tell operators that, oh my gosh, they made $250,000 in sales. I want that job. And then I have to explain it's a lot of work. I personally went down and did a transition at Ohio University in Athens, and the hills and carting up, carts of pop and snacks in all these buildings where there's limited or sometimes no storage. There's parking pass issues, and it's hard work.
In the snow, you gotta do it in the snow, you gotta do it, stuff like, and that, being a business owner, sometimes people don't realize, what are you gonna do when you have a sick day? If you have a cafeteria to run, you have to think about what you're going to do in that situation. Because sometimes the people that we get, they want to be business owners, but they don't understand the PE program. So trying to explain, the whole logistics, because it's a big thing, you don't think about, there's like 80 people, because not all of them are working right now. There's about 80 vendors that we have. And they, like she said, it's a cascade effect. When one person moves, someone else is taking their job, and then it just keeps trickling down. And so hopefully those new people will get jobs, but it might take a minute. And part of the OVRC is to score. And it does give you the rules of how to do a transition, how to vote, how to do everything. And we have to abide by that. We change the rules every 5 years. So, if something is wrong this time, next time, hopefully we can get it on there perfectly so that it makes crystal clear sense. But sometimes it doesn't. But that's why the OVRC and us work together. We come together every month, just about. So we can hash out any issues that we're having. If there's an issue at, this facility, if they've already talked about it in their local committee and they can't figure out what to do, then we bring it all together and we all kind of figure out what it is that, we can do. We don't necessarily have a say in everything, but, when it comes to what we're allowed to do, then we put in our 2 cents, but sometimes we're just sitting there listening to what it is that everyone else is, trying to handle and trying to figure out.
Yep. I was before I took this job, in another VR training where, again, vocational rehabilitation, and there are other programs with opportunities for Ohioans with disability. Again, we're there to get people to get jobs, and maybe BE is not the track, but I'd encourage anyone who wants to work to really contact OOD, because there are so many different options right now. And continues to do. I can tell you, I did not go today, but today was a big conference for our agency. The director and the governor was there. It's called Accessibility Ohio, held at the Pappas Center. It's annual. And again, it's trying to make Ohio more accessible, whether that's museums, whether that's sports arenas. It's about accessibility, and it's about getting people jobs. And I think that's the most rewarding thing. But what I was saying is that I was in a training once where, a VR participant said, I want to be self-employed because I don't get along with people. And I'm like, yeah, if you want to be self-employed, you have to get along with people. You have to create relationships with vendors, with what we call the grantors, with customers. You have to be customer focused. And again, Mark can tell you this, like, what sells at a rest area is different than what sells at a Department of Education, which is different from an ODOT central office, which is different from a college university, or it's constantly changing, the landscape, the technology. Right now, as Lindsay was saying, micro markets, which are these self-checkout kiosks and high tech. They're now coming out with these smart coolers where you go in, you open up the cooler, you take your product out, and the AI and the technology knows what product you took out. Kind of like those bars and mini bars at a hotel. They'll know when you take a product out. But with that too, you've got security concerns, you've got credit card fees, you've got what happens if the cooler goes down. I can tell you right now, one of the things we're working, not all, some of my operators, a lot of them want all these smart coolers. It's the new shiny thing. And I'm like, let's get at least one facility up and successful, and then we can expand there. But that's where the technology is going right now. And it's ever changing, and we also, the ongoing support too. We have an annual conference with the operators. We have tried to bring in upward mobility points, which helps with their promotion, bringing in technology, looking at your credit card reports and the back end. So it used to be back in the day where you'd have to, and Mark, you can talk about this, you'd have to go to your facility, see what's sold, and then bring all this product there. Now you can be at home and on the computer with JAWS or with whatever technology in real time. Oh, I sold 15 Diet Cokes today. There was a run on Snickers. So now I know when I go, I need to order more of these products. This product's been sitting there for a while. I probably shouldn't order any more of those, or I need to, rotate them. Looking and making sure that going and making sure that, things aren't out of date. Most of our operators do have a driver that they employ, and then some, depending on the size of their facility, have multiple employees. Some have their family members, some have put out one ads through Indeed. It runs the gamut.
It's amazing to me, if a blind person without business enterprise wanted to start their own vending machine business. Can you go into like the cost, of the machines if we didn't if we had to buy all the machines on our own to get started, I mean, they're like each, what, $15,000 roughly around there. Each, if I'm
They're
thinking
about
correctly.
8 to 10.
Oh,
I
8 to
think,
10.
yeah, I think a Bev Max
Okay.
now is about 10, but they constantly are going up. They're constantly with the price of everything. But yeah, to your point, and like if you go to if we were to get a call from a major university, which we've had, and they need 100 machines and they need 100 credit card readers, and they're about $250 a piece. And then we provide the initial inventory. I mean, you're talking thousands and thousands of dollars.
And you would have to figure out where you're going, where are you putting that vending machine? Whereas
Mhm.
we already have all of those contracts.
And the nice thing is with business enterprise, I mean, like for my restaurant, I have 7 machines. So if I would have had to get it started, I would have had to get a loan for anywhere from 56 to $70,000. And just paying set aside, if I have an issue with the machine where it goes down and it's not working, they'll come out and fix it. That's all part of the set aside agreement. So it's a pretty amazing program.
That night, I also think it gives you a lot of self-worth to be in the program, that you feel like you have something to do and you actually get to run the show, so you can be your own boss again. Maybe some of you not, maybe thought you couldn't be a boss again, but you can be and run your own show.
I got my license back in 2018, so I've been an operator for just almost 7 years. Mark, how long have you been an operator?
Since 2013, I think.
Okay.
How did you guys find out about the program?
Well, I'm originally from Pennsylvania, and even though we had certain things in Pennsylvania, like Keystone Blind Association had some things for blind people as far as jobs they could do. The business enterprise program in Pennsylvania isn't anywhere near what it's like in Ohio. I didn't even know it existed. If and so when I moved here, I got involved with opportunities for Ohioans with disabilities and found out about it that way. And it's pretty amazing.
And myself, I was working through Goodwill in DCSC over there in Columbus. And I happened to run into a guy pushing a cart around looking at a magnifier, and I'm thinking, wow, this guy, he's the same thing I do, that magnifier. I wonder what his deal is. So we went into a breaker and I started talking to him. And that's how I found out about this program. So other than that, I mean, now you guys are really getting out there to where before I call it the best kept secret out there.
Yes.
100%.
Because you didn't hear much about it. I mean, even my VR counselor didn't even tell me.
And
about
that's the
program.
thing. Yeah. It seems like we are the redheaded stepchild in a lot of situations because we don't get invited to meetings. Like no one thinks about the BE program because it is so little just with the people in OOD, but blind vendors it's so big. There are so many of you guys. We do a statewide conference every year that we're going to be going to the state parks, hopefully for the foreseeable future. And we bring in people that, we feel like would make a difference to, provide more information. Last year we had someone from Alabama come in, talk about what they're doing, how he does his business. He gave out some just I don't know, just information about how he does things. He gave a great example of he has people pay for their background checks when they put in an application because he always does background checks. That way, no one who knows they will not pass is going to do a background check, but he was having to pay for all of these and they didn't work out. So that's how he figured a way around that so that he could, still get the background check done. But he wouldn't have to pay for them and it's worked out for him. And then we have, this year we're hoping to get guidance which I don't know if you guys have all heard about that. Yeah, so that's great. So, any type of new technology we like to talk about. We had a couple vendors talk about Meta Ray-Ban glasses last year, how they use them. And then they talked about Cantaloupe, which is the credit card company that we work with. Most of our operators work with Cantaloupe. They have a lot of that type of computer backdoor stuff that Christie was talking about. The planogram is what they call it, where you can go in and see what is missing from your vending machine so that you can, like she said, you can just see what it is that you need and go in with that, couple boxes instead of your entire warehouse. So we had Cantaloupe come in 2 years ago themselves, and they kind of gave a presentation. And then this year we had two operators talk about some of the reports that they use from Cantaloupe. Because even though we all are kind of associated with each other, since everyone runs their business so differently, not everyone knows all of the good stuff that other people have found. So several apps that no one had heard about except a couple operators, we were able to share that at statewide. Zuzenka or something, I think is yeah. So that's a good one that we've been recommending now. So IRA, things like that, all of these things that you guys are probably using or have heard of. The IRA, the Be My Eyes, AI, all of those things can be very useful to help with your business. So, thinking of a blind person helping, with inventory, you would think, how when they can't see expiration dates, there's ways, there's technology, there's ways you can feel the bags a certain way to tell if they're going in the right way. There's tricks to everything. So if you think, oh, I would never be able to do that because, I can't see, how am I supposed to see? There's ways, and we can teach you the ways. So like orientation and mobility, if you need that to, once you get into your facility, that's always one of the questions I ask. Is that something that's needed before you start? Most of the people have said no. But obviously it's always an option. Computer evaluations, we always do that. So if you need help with Excel so that you can make spreadsheets, for your product and stuff like that, we'll have someone teach you that. If you are unfamiliar with the apps that I talked about, we have someone that can help you, learn those. And then also the community is just so tight. Not everyone gets along, but that's natural. But I mean, the people that are the training people, they're great. And they're always willing to help. So if you ever have a question, you're in a rest area and you don't seem to be making as much money as you want to. So you can call one of the marks up and be like, hey, what are you doing? Because I'm not making the money that I think, I'm selling this, this, and this. And, maybe Mark's like, well, how much are you selling it for? And, you say $250. And for a Red Bull, let's say. And they're like, what are you doing? Why would you sell it for that cheap? And then they can talk to you. Have you tried this product? This product's new. I've been using it. It's been going off really well. So the communication between vendors is great. So that's something else that we've been doing at statewide is having people collaborate together. So people of like routes are together. So everyone in the colleges, rest areas, just plain vending routes, they get together so that they can bounce those ideas off of each other. It's definitely a great way to meet other vendors. So, that you can talk to more people if you are just think that you're out there on your own, but definitely not. Yeah.
Yeah, we're looking for people. So if you
Mhm.
know of anyone, family members, friends, by all means, please. And did you
I have
find,
my cards,
yeah,
yeah.
we've got business cards. I think I don't know if they're the new branding or if they're
They
exactly
are.
right, but they have our names on it. So,
And there's a QR code on here as well.
Yeah, is yours, mine's braille.
Mine's not braille.
But do you guys have questions? Have you heard of Random Shepherd?
Are you guys expanding into a call machine or any gaming machine then?
We're not, I mean, what it says is it's vending, the definition, which is has evolved, but it's mostly articles of food. However, the original act talks about newspapers, cigarettes, you know, there are stuff, you know, at rest areas. I know some people stock chargers or what we call sundry items, which would be like little packs of like Tylenol or Advil. But actual games we have not done. You know, maybe in colleges, universities, they're getting into these smart lockers that are vending. Again, any federal, state entity should be coming to us before they put in any automated machine for us to go in and assess and evaluate on whether or not we feel that that's a suitable location if we have operators that are able and willing to do it.
I was gonna say too, right now, I think I have between 50 and 60 machines in like 15 different locations from almost Cincinnati to Marietta. So it's a long span, but if you don't have a problem with working and you want to work, it's there. So
We have, and Mark has helped us out a lot. Generally, when we get a new facility or site, we temp it for 6 months to establish sales. And so we have some operators where we'll call up and say, I know you have a permanent facility, but would you be willing to temp another one for 6 months? So then we can determine, is it going to be attached to another site or facility? Because we're trying, and that's the biggest challenge, I think, is trying to make decent living wage jobs. And that can be tomorrow. That can sometimes be controversial. You know, we're going to be opening up some more rest areas that have been remodeled. Do you combine both sides and make a really lucrative job? Or do you employ, you know, make two jobs, which, you know, they less money. And that, you know, depending on, people have strong opinions both ways. So, but there are, just like what Mark said, like some people, they can go to one area and have 6 or 7 machines. Other people have large routes. We have also the post office, a couple sorting facilities where we have 2 operators in that posting, and that can kind of get a little complicated. Or, you know, is one undercutting the other on the prices? And when you expand in a place where there's multiple operators, who gets that business? So there are challenges, but I find it rewarding and challenging.
That's another thing we kind of do as operators, and at statewide, especially, you know, we'll kind of put our heads together and say, what's everybody selling Monster for? What's
Mhm.
everybody got their chips at? And my job coach, John Canada, he's the one that kind of helped me out when I first got started. He said, you know, we're both on I-70. It doesn't look real great if you go to one rest area and somebody's got their chips at $1 and somebody else does their chips at $2. And so we try to stay consistent and you know, keep roughly the same prices and kind of talk every couple months and kind of see, you know, where we're at with candy bars, because candy bars have gone,
Yeah.
everything's gone up, but I mean, candy bars have definitely seemed to go through the roof. And so it's something where everybody kind of helps each other out. It's like a family.
Mhm.
Really, really great. Any other questions? Anything else that you think we need to know, ladies?
We'll leave some
Yeah.
cards here. By all means, if you guys know someone, if there's another group that you're involved in, and we're willing to come and talk. And again, getting out there, getting the word of mouth, not letting it be a secret. I think it's a great program. Very proud to be a part of it. Yeah, and
Yeah.
constantly evolving. So, but thank you, Mark, for
Yes,
inviting us out there to talk.
thank you, ladies, for coming out and talking to us. Just been a real blessing, and we appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thank you so much.